Hey guys, so far I'm betting $100 to win around 250 on Mike Tyson money line against Jake Paul. So I'm making the bet on Bet365 and Pinnacle as well. So it is an interesting bet coming up. So I'm betting 58-year-old Mike Tyson to beat a 27-year-old Jake Paul. The first big reason that comes to mind why I'm making this bet is I was thinking about how 30 years ago, a 48-year-old George Foreman fought a 25-year-old Shannon Briggs. And that fight went to a decision, and it was a controversial decision that went to Shannon Briggs, but a lot of people thought George Foreman won. So let's just say, assuming George Foreman won that fight as a 48-year-old heavyweight against a 25-year-old Shannon Briggs, who was top heavyweight as well. What I'm thinking is, 30 years later, a 48-year-old George Foreman could be a 25-year-old Shannon Briggs. And I figure 30 years later with, modern medicine, sports science, PEDs, all that stuff, I figure a 58-year-old Mike Tyson should have a pretty good chance to beat a 27-year-old Jake Paul. And then also, Shannon Briggs, is a top heavyweight, whereas, Jake Paul essentially is a cruiserweight, right? And not only that, Jake Paul's fights have mostly been at around 185. So even, I don't even know if he's necessarily a natural cruiserweight, because, cruiserweights is under 200, and they often fight, 199, 198, stuff like that. So for Jake Paul to come all the way up to heavyweight seems like a stretch. And, Tyson's a natural heavyweight who fights at around 220, whereas Jake Paul is, he's trying to put on 30 pounds pretty quickly to come fight Tyson. And not only that, but in general in boxing, when fighters try and put on like 30 pounds or something, it usually takes them a while. Like they'll maybe do 10 pounds a year, and it'll take them 3 years to put on 30 pounds, right? Perfect example actually is Alexander Usyk. He was fighting at cruiserweight, and then when he came up to fight at heavyweight, it took him about 3 years till he fought Anthony Joshua. He had, or maybe 2 years. I think he had 3 fights at heavyweight before he went and fought Joshua for the title. So it is an interesting bet. Another thing too is, look, Tyson in his prime probably hit the hardest he's probably punching as hard as any heavyweight has ever punched before, right? And they say power is the last thing to go. And yeah, obviously Tyson doesn't hit as hard now as he once did, but I don't know. I would think Tyson still probably hits as hard as maybe a top 20 heavyweight in the world. And Jake Paul's never fought anyone as close to as big as Tyson physically. And not only that, I think Jake Paul's 10-1, and I think of all his fights, I think they've all been against smaller opponents, like guys who are just physically a lot smaller than him. So if Jake Paul's 185, he's fighting guys who are 175, and now he's going all the way up to fight Tyson, who's 220, and that seems like a lot. One of the problems I do have about this fight is they're using 14-ounce gloves and not 10-ounce gloves. So I think, Tyson having that power advantage, I think 14-ounce gloves takes some of that away. But I do know Tyson, has knocked out people in sparring or knocked down people in sparring, and that's with wearing 18-ounce gloves. So I figure if he could knock out or knock down people with 18-ounce gloves, then maybe he could do it with 14-ounce gloves against Jake Paul. And then the other thing that also worries me about this fight is they're doing 2-minute rounds and not 3-minute rounds. And if you watch, boxing, a lot of the times the big knockouts or the big shots land during that, final minute of the round, in that third minute, because, people get tired and maybe their guards get let down and now the big shots start to land. So to only have 2-minute rounds makes me think it's probably not going to be the best for action. And there's also a part of me that thinks, look, it's 14-ounce gloves, it's 2-minute rounds. There's part of me that thinks this could be a boring fight where really not much happens. The other thing too with this fight is, obviously that worries me, is Tyson being 58. I think he could just get, a random injury like, a knee problem or something, or whatever. You figure something bad could happen because he's 58, so his health at some point in the fight could be an issue. What else about this fight that I like that it's plus 250, And I think, I was watching the Netflix docu-series about Tyson and Jake Paul, and even just watching that docu-series that shows them training and stuff like that, and I got the sense that Tyson just looks much better than Jake Paul. Just like something as simple as watching them train. Just watching that, you're like, oh man, Tyson looks like a much better boxer and fighter, and it looks like he's hitting way harder than Jake Paul is. And I think too, I remember just Tyson's fights in general. And I used to watch him. I always thought one of the things that stood out with Tyson was just how loud his punches were. I feel like you never saw someone fight where those body punches or head punches or whatever it was, they were just so loud, you know? And yeah, watching that Netflix docuseries too, he does look like he has those loud punches where he's hitting the mats like so loud, hard. Does seem like he's hitting much harder than Jake Paul is. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I'm really not that confident in this bet because Tyson is 58, so it does seem pretty crazy to me. And I'm only betting $100. I don't think I could bet more than that. I mean, just the idea of betting on a 58-year-old against a 27-year-old just seems ridiculous. I mean, look, Tyson was 58 and he was fighting someone who was like, 55. I feel like that'd be like a pretty fair situation. But I don't even know how legally it's allowed that someone who's 58 can fight someone who's 27. I think there probably should be a law against that. But whatever, they sanctioned it in Texas, and it's an official bout. So, I mean, it should be entertaining, should be exciting. But yeah, like I said, the fact that it's only 2-minute rounds and 14-ounce gloves does make me think it's possible this fight could be boring. So then if that is the case, hopefully Tyson wins the decision. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, look, it's Mike Tyson. He's a beast. And like the thing I was saying before about how, look, if a 48-year-old George Foreman could beat a 25-year-old Shannon Briggs, and I figure 30 years later, a 58-year-old Tyson could beat a 27-year-old Jake Paul. And I've watched most of Jake Paul's fights. I mean, nothing he's done has impressed me. I really don't think he looks good at all. He's fought guys who aren't boxers. He's fought guys who are small. His one loss came against a boxer, but whatever. It wasn't, I mean, the fight, I didn't really see that fight. But yeah, I mean, that's all I guess I have to say. But yeah, so I'm betting $100 to win, probably around 250. I'll let you guys know what the total ends up being on Mike Tyson money line against Jake Paul. All right, that's all for now, guys. Hope you enjoy that fight. I'm actually also excited too. I just want to say I'm excited too to just see how much like business that fight generates. It's going to be on Netflix. I wonder if it's going to be the thing that like everyone's talking about, or if it gets like a ton of viewers or not. But anyways, yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. It's on Friday. And all right, that's all for now. See you guys.